Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our channel, my friend. There's a quiet war happening within the mind. It's not fought with weapons or fire. It's fought with language. Every day, your thoughts speak to you, and you answer back. But what you often don't realize is that the words you use aren't neutral. They are either healing you or harming you, either shaping you into a version of yourself that can withstand the suffering of life, or pushing you deeper into self-deception and despair. That's why the phrases you speak daily matter. Words are not simply sounds. They are patterns, mental blueprints that organize chaos into order. They give structure to your intentions, direction to your behavior, and stability to your emotions. When you speak the right words consistently, your brain begins to believe them, not immediately, but gradually. That belief over time becomes action, and sustained action is what reprograms your life. If you begin each day with intention, speaking truth into the void of uncertainty, you begin to master your inner dialogue. Consider this: the average person speaks tens of thousands of words per day. Most of those are reactionary, emotional noise. But what if even just 10 of those words were chosen with precision, grounded in meaning, spoken with awareness? That could change the trajectory of your day, and then your week, and then your future. Now, I'm not talking about cliché positivity. I'm not suggesting you lie to yourself or pretend you're okay when you're not. That's self-betrayal. I'm talking about truth-based phrases, statements you can stand on when life feels unstable. Things like, I am responsible for what I become. Today, I choose clarity over confusion. Discipline is my freedom. Each of these is not just a motivational soundbite. It's a moral declaration, a reminder of your capacity to change the structure of your existence. This is difficult, of course. Speaking words of order into a life filled with chaos is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront where you are and where you fall short, but it's necessary. Because if you don't choose your words, the world will choose them for you. And the world doesn't always have your best interest in mind. You must become intentional about your language. You must speak in a way that your subconscious listens. The brain is highly receptive to repetition, especially when it's emotionally charged. If you feel defeated and you tell yourself, I'm worthless, your brain logs that as evidence. But if in the same situation you say, I'm learning to stand up again, the brain begins building a new file, one based on resilience, not collapse. So today, decide. Speak phrases rooted in responsibility, clarity, strength, truth, and meaning. Not because it's trendy, not because someone told you to, but because your life depends on it. Speak them in the morning when you rise, in the mirror before you face the world, and at night before you rest. Speak them until your thoughts shift, until your actions follow, until your character aligns. Because your words are not just noise, they are tools, they are maps. And used wisely, they will take you somewhere better. Repetition of truth is not merely an act of habit, it's an act of psychological engineering. Our minds, like fertile soil, will accept whatever seeds we plant and nourish consistently. If we repeat lies, deceptions, or chaotic thoughts, those become our reality. But if we repeat what is true, what is aligned with moral clarity, personal responsibility, and higher order, then our lives begin to reflect that order. Chaos in the mind is not always external in origin. It is often a result of unexamined narratives, internalized fear, and learned helplessness. Repeating truth is one of the few ways to combat that. It's not enough to know the truth intellectually. You have to internalize it emotionally, and repetition bridges that gap. When you speak something true about yourself, I am capable of growth, my decisions shape my destiny, discipline brings me peace. You are not just motivating yourself. You are retraining neural circuits to prioritize clarity, resilience, and direction. Every time you repeat such a phrase, you interrupt old patterns. Imagine a brain shaped by years of negative reinforcement, insecurity, or trauma. That brain doesn't rewire in one moment of inspiration. It requires daily reinforcement. Speaking truth is like drawing a new path through the forest. Each time you walk it, the path gets clearer. The brain starts to follow that trail naturally. Over time, it prefers truth over confusion, responsibility over excuses, and structure over emotional chaos. There is also something spiritually grounding about repeating what is true. You begin to see that your identity is not rooted in fleeting emotions or labels given by others. It is rooted in values, in direction, and in agency. When you wake up every morning and declare truth, not as some performative ritual, but as a declaration of who you are becoming, you become harder to shake. Life will still throw storms your way, but truth becomes your anchor. And when truth is repeated, it embeds itself so deeply that no storm can uproot it. The world is noisy, filled with narratives that try to tell you who you are, what you can be, what's possible. Most of those voices are misaligned with your deepest potential. Repetition of truth silences that noise. It filters out the irrelevant, the toxic, and the disempowering. It aligns you back to the path you've chosen, not the path that was forced on you. So repetition of truth isn't just advice, it's armor. It's clarity in confusion. It's a tool to push back against despair. It is a process through which the chaos of life becomes bearable. Speak the truth not just to others but to yourself, and do it daily because your soul depends on it. I am responsible is not a statement of guilt, it is a declaration of power. When you say this phrase and truly mean it, you shift from being a passive recipient of life circumstances to being an active architect of your own existence. Responsibility does not mean everything that happens to you is your fault. Rather, it means that how you respond to it, how you frame it, and what you choose to do with it is entirely within your control. There's something transformational about realizing that your choices, your habits, your mindset, all of it has the power to shape your reality. Blaming others may feel temporarily satisfying, but it robs you of growth. It keeps you trapped in a narrative where you are helpless. When you take responsibility, you reclaim agency. You say, no matter what happened, I will rise. Too often, we confuse responsibility with burden. But what if responsibility is actually the path to freedom? When you admit, I am responsible, you're not shackling yourself, you're freeing yourself from the illusion that someone else has to fix your life. This phrase aligns you with maturity. It asks you to stop outsourcing your future to circumstance, to government, to family, to luck. It pushes you into the seat of power where you must look at your own decisions, your own attitude, your own willingness to change. And that's terrifying because it means you no longer have excuses. But it's also liberating because it means you no longer have limits. Every area of life demands responsibility. Relationships, health, work, personal development. If you neglect responsibility in any one area, consequences will eventually follow. You may ignore your mental health, but that neglect accumulates like interest on a debt. You may avoid difficult conversations, but silence breeds resentment. When you accept responsibility, you stop pretending, you stop hiding from the hard truths, you confront them head on, and in doing so, you become stronger, more grounded, and more trustworthy, not just to others, but to yourself. Repeating, I am responsible, daily is like sharpening a sword. You prepare yourself for life's unpredictability with clarity and conviction. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, you ask, what can I do now? That one shift turns victimhood into empowerment. It moves you from despair to strategy. It reorients your mindset towards solution, not suffering. In a world full of people looking for someone to blame, be the one who takes ownership. Responsibility is rare, it's courageous, and it's transformative. By choosing responsibility, you choose growth, you choose strength. You choose to rise above circumstances and become the kind of person who doesn't wait for the world to change, but instead becomes the change. Let this truth guide you. Everything in your life may not be your fault, but how you face it, how you transform it can absolutely be your responsibility. I will act with courage is more than just a motivational phrase. It is a daily decision to confront fear rather than be controlled by it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward despite it. Every time you act with courage, you chip away at the limitations that have held you back. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. Action comes first. The feelings will follow. When you tell yourself, I will act with courage, you're drawing a line in the sand. You're declaring that growth matters more than comfort, that truth matters more than approval, and that progress matters more than perfection. There are countless moments in life when fear whispers lies into your ear. It tells you you're not ready, not worthy, not capable. It convinces you to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect words, the perfect certainty. But courage disrupts that pattern. Courage says, even if I'm unsure, I will speak up. Even if I'm scared, I will show up. Even if I might fail, I will try. Courage is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows stronger the more you use it. You don't build courage by thinking about bravery. You build it by doing brave things. Tiny, consistent acts of courage create massive shifts in your confidence and self-belief over time. There are different kinds of courage. There's physical courage, the ability to face danger. There's emotional courage, the strength to be vulnerable. There's moral courage, the will to stand for what's right, even when it's unpopular. Each one matters. Each one has its place in your journey. Courage means being honest in a world that rewards fake. It means taking responsibility when blame is easier. It means being kind when bitterness is justified. Sometimes courage is loud, a bold decision, a hard conversation, a leap into the unknown. But other times it's quiet, getting out of bed when you're depressed, forgiving someone who never apologized, or believing in yourself after years of self-doubt. Courage is essential for personal growth. You cannot expand your life while staying in your comfort zone. Everything you want, clarity, love, meaning, freedom, lives on the other side of fear. That fear is a signal, not a stop sign. It tells you where to look, where to heal, where to grow. Acting with courage is not about being reckless. It's about being faithful to your values even when it costs you. It's about choosing action over avoidance, truth over silence, and purpose over popularity. When you repeat the phrase, "I will act with courage," you're building a mindset of resilience. You're preparing yourself for resistance, setbacks, and critics, and choosing to rise anyway. Life will never run out of situations that require bravery. But the more you practice, the less fear will control you. And the more courage you show, the more power you will discover within yourself. Each courageous act you take not only changes your life, but inspires others to do the same. Courage is contagious. Be the example. Be the one who moves forward even trembling, because the cost of staying stuck is far greater than the discomfort of moving through fear. "I choose discipline over motivation" is a powerful commitment to living intentionally rather than emotionally. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you wake up energized, full of excitement and drive. The next day you feel flat, lazy, and uninspired. If your life depends on motivation, your consistency will always be unstable. But discipline is a decision. It is the foundation of progress, the bridge between your goals and the results you want. When you say, "I choose discipline over motivation," you're choosing to take control of your life regardless of how you feel in the moment. Discipline is about showing up when you don't want to. It's about following through on commitments long after the mood in which you made them has passed. It's doing the hard things not because you feel like it, but because you decided they matter. The truth is, discipline is freedom. It's freedom from regret, freedom from chaos, freedom from the tyranny of mood swings. Every time you act with discipline, you build integrity with yourself. You prove to your mind that you are trustworthy, reliable, focused. And when you build that trust, your confidence grows because you know that no matter what life throws at you, you'll keep showing up. Choosing discipline means having a plan and sticking to it. It means turning your vision into a schedule. It's the willingness to say no to distraction, to delay gratification, and to endure discomfort in the name of something greater. It's setting a standard and refusing to negotiate with your excuses. Whether it's your fitness, your career, your relationships, or your character, discipline is the tool that makes transformation possible. Everyone wants to succeed, but few are willing to endure the daily grind required to earn it. Discipline separates those who dream from those who achieve. One of the most important things to understand is that motivation is reactive. It responds to circumstances. Discipline is proactive. It creates them. You might not feel like writing, studying, working out, or practicing, but when you do it anyway, despite the lack of enthusiasm, that's when real growth happens. That's when your identity changes. You no longer see yourself as someone who trees. You become someone who does. And that shift in identity is where power lies. You stop waiting to feel inspired and instead become the kind of person who inspires others. Discipline also teaches resilience. When you rely on motivation, failure can feel like a signal to stop. But discipline says, keep going. Discipline builds emotional toughness, the ability to persist through boredom, frustration, resistance, and setbacks. It silences the inner voice that says, you can't, with actions that say, I will. And with each small disciplined act, you move closer to your goals, not with speed, but with certainty. When you repeat the phrase, I choose discipline over motivation, you are reminding yourself that your destiny is shaped by habits, not hype. You're choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. You're choosing responsibility over passivity. And most importantly, you're choosing to be the author of your own life story, not a character waiting to be written by chance. The disciplined life is not always easy, but it is always worth it. I take full responsibility for my life as a declaration of power, maturity, and transformation. It's the point where your life begins to change because you stop blaming the outside world for your internal struggles. The moment you take full responsibility, you stop waiting for someone to save you, fix you, or hand you what you believe you deserve. You understand that your life is a result of your decisions. Not your circumstances, not your parents, not your past, not society. It's not that those things don't affect you. They do, but they don't define your outcome. What defines your outcome is how you choose to respond every single day. When you say, I take full responsibility for my life, you stop pointing fingers. You stop blaming the economy, your upbringing, your boss, your relationships, or your education. You realize that every complaint is a surrender of your power. If someone else is in control, then you're a victim of life. But if you're in control, you can change the game. And that's not a burden, it's a gift. Yes, it's a heavy responsibility, but it's also liberating. Because if it's your fault, it means it's within your power to fix it. You no longer have to wait, you can act now. Taking full responsibility doesn't mean shaming yourself. It's not about self-hate, it's about self-honesty. It's about looking at the results of your life, your health, your finances, your relationships, your mindset, and saying, this is mine, I created this, and I can create something better. It's a mindset of ownership, not excuses. It's about replacing, why is this happening to me, with what can I do about it? That shift alone moves you from powerless to powerful, from reactive to proactive, from surviving to building. This mindset also demands emotional intelligence. You begin to question your patterns. You start identifying what triggers your bad habits. You look at your routine and ask, is this serving my future or sabotaging it? You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop saying, I'll start when, and start with what you have. Responsibility is action, not just intention. It's getting up earlier. It's managing your time. It's learning new skills, setting boundaries. It's saying no to distractions. It's staying consistent. All of this comes from one source, you. People who live in blame stay stuck. People who live in responsibility move forward, even if slowly, because they're building momentum. They're learning, they're correcting, they're evolving. They fall, but they rise again because they don't see failure as permanent. They see it as data. They don't seek pity. They seek progress. And eventually that progress compounds. 1 year of total responsibility can radically change a person's life. 5 years, you wouldn't recognize them. It takes courage to say, I take full responsibility for my life. But that courage is what separates the average from the extraordinary. It means you're willing to confront hard truths. It means you're willing to clean up your thinking, your habits, and your choices. It means you're done waiting for permission. You've given yourself the authority to act, to lead, to improve. That's how leaders are made, not in comfort, but in accountability. Not by luck, but by design. Say it again. I take full responsibility for my life. Let that phrase burn into your identity. Let it guide your actions. Let it fuel your progress. Because when you own your life, you own your future, and no one can take that from you. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions is more than a daily affirmation. It's a way of reclaiming your personal power in a world that constantly tries to influence you. We often believe that our emotions happen to us, that our thoughts arrive uninvited, and we are just passengers in the ride. But that mindset leaves us vulnerable to circumstances, to people's opinions, to fleeting moods. In truth, when you claim this phrase as your reality, you're stepping into one of the most important psychological responsibilities of a mature human being, the responsibility to govern your inner world. Our minds are like fertile soil. Whatever you plant, positive or negative, will eventually grow. If you're not deliberately planting empowering, disciplined thoughts, then weeds of fear, doubt, and negativity will naturally take root. The world won't stop offering you reasons to be angry, anxious, or hopeless. Social media will fuel comparison. The news will fuel fear. Challenges will trigger frustration. But none of these can truly control you unless you allow them to. The greatest freedom is not external. It's the freedom to decide what you allow to enter and live in your mind. Being in control of your thoughts doesn't mean you never have a bad day. It means you recognize the power to interrupt destructive patterns and shift your mental state. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, you don't let that thought spiral out of control. You pause, question it, and replace it with something aligned with truth. I am growing, I am learning, or I'm doing the best I can. That's not delusion, that's direction. You're training your mind to work for you, not against you. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending you're okay when you're not. It means being aware of what you're feeling and choosing how you respond instead of reacting automatically. Emotional intelligence is not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of emotion. You acknowledge the anger, the sadness, the fear, but you don't let them dictate your words or actions. You give yourself the space to feel, but you don't give your emotions the steering wheel of your life. That's maturity, that's power. The ability to direct your thoughts and emotions requires practice. You develop it the same way you develop physical strength, through daily repetition, through discipline, through intentional action. Meditation, journaling, breathing exercises, solitude, and self-reflection are tools that sharpen this control. They create distance between stimulus and response, giving you the chance to choose rather than be controlled. Every moment you redirect a negative thought is a victory. Every time you choose peace over panic, calm over chaos, you are reinforcing your strength. Most people live in reaction mode. Something happens and they react. A delay frustrates them. A comment insults them. A setback discourages them. But the person who says, I am in control of my thoughts and emotions, steps into creator mode. They don't react, they respond. And their responses are aligned with values, not moods. That's how leaders live. That's how disciplined individuals rise. They don't live based on how they feel. They live based on who they've decided to become. So when you say this phrase, don't say it passively. Say it with authority. Say it with belief. You're not lying to yourself. You're retraining your mind. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions is the declaration of someone who refuses to be a victim to their own impulses, who chooses clarity over chaos, and who knows that true strength begins on the inside. Say it daily, live it fully. Because the moment you master your inner world, the outer world loses its grip on you. I am the architect of my destiny is not just a poetic statement. It is a powerful declaration of accountability and self-determination. It is the mindset of someone who refuses to live a life dictated by circumstances, the past, or others' opinions. Instead, it is the realization that every decision you make, every belief you hold, every action you take is a brick laid in the foundation of the life you are building. When you say this phrase with conviction, you are taking full ownership of your present and your future. The first step to living this truth is accepting responsibility. This means no more blame, no more excuses, no more waiting for someone else to fix your life. The moment you accept that you are the architect, you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a creator. Your results, whether good or bad, are reflections of your mindset, your habits, your discipline, your courage. It may feel uncomfortable at first to accept this kind of responsibility, but it is also incredibly liberating. Because if you created the mess, you also have the power to create the masterpiece. Architecture requires vision. No architect starts without a blueprint, and neither should you. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to build? What kind of person do I want to become? What values do I want my life to reflect? These questions form the foundation of your design. Clarity is power, and without it, you'll build a structure that doesn't match your soul. You'll follow other people's plans. You'll live by default, not by design. But with clarity, you move with intention. You know where you're going, and you can measure whether your actions are moving you closer to that goal. Once the blueprint is set, it's time to lay bricks. Daily actions, habits, and disciplines that align with your vision. Just like a building doesn't rise in a day, transformation doesn't happen overnight. You must commit to consistency. Reading a book instead of watching mindless content, exercising instead of procrastinating, choosing courage instead of fear. These small decisions accumulate. They stack up. They shape your structure. Most people want results without the responsibility. But the architect understands every result is built on effort, every breakthrough on persistence. Obstacles will come, weather will change. Sometimes the foundation will crack or you'll make a wrong calculation. That's not failure, it's part of the process. Every architect adjusts the plan as needed. They don't abandon the building because of a setback. Likewise, when life throws unexpected challenges your way, you adapt. You don't quit, you realign, you reinforce, you rebuild stronger, because destiny is not something handed to you. It's something forged through struggle, refined by resilience, and realized through vision backed by action. This phrase also means you stop outsourcing your happiness. You don't wait for the perfect job, the ideal partner, or the approval of others to feel fulfilled. You design a life where your values and purpose lead the way. You build meaning into your daily routine. You become intentional about the people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, and the energy you project. Every thought is a blueprint. Every action is construction. Every habit is reinforcement. And perhaps most importantly, as the architect, you are allowed to dream. Dream big, but build daily. You don't need permission to start. You don't need everyone to understand your design. All you need is belief and a willingness to build, even if you're starting with broken bricks. Even if no one sees your vision yet. Because you see it. You feel it. And you're willing to show up and lay one more brick today. Say this phrase not with empty hope, but with empowered truth. I am the architect of my destiny. You're not just dreaming a future, you're designing it. And brick by brick, you are building something extraordinary.